and achieving more. Telling it just like it is. Most of all, keeping it real. Are you ready for real talk? Changing lives and communities. Real talk. Saving all our families. Real talk. Bringing hope for you and me. Real talk. Real talk with Judy. Real talk with Judy on the radio. Real talk with Judy. Real talk with Judy on the radio.
Hello and welcome to the Real Talk with Judy live radio show. I am your host, Dr. Judy, and I want to thank you so very much for joining in. I know my voice sounded a little raspy. Last Tuesday, I couldn't even talk, But today, at least I get to do a little bit, right? So I am so glad that you all are here to join in with me. Man, that voting was something else, wasn't it? And I just hope everyone, I have my guest is going to talk a little bit about that perhaps, but I hope everyone see how important it is for you to vote. So today, I want to thank God. Y'all know I got to start it off. Thanking God for my mom, my dad, rest in peace. I missed him. September the 18th will be a year that my mom has been gone from us here in the flesh. But y'all, we think about it every single day. Sometimes we're laughing and stuff. Because my mom did some funny things. And so we're laughing, but we thank God so very much for the impact that she made on my life and so many of y'all, but my family life. I want to thank God for it. To my wonderful husband who produced the show last Tuesday. He did, no, he didn't produce it. He hosted. He did a great job. He did a great job. So we want to thank him so very much. And to Priscilla, who's been busy and is busy taking care of mom, and she got her 2 daughters, and she worked, and I just want to thank God so very much for her and all that she does. And to all of you who are listening every single Tuesday, I want to thank you all so very much. I'm telling you, it is humbling and honorable to have so many people to say that they listen to me every Tuesday, that they can't wait for the show. I appreciate you. I want you to know that you are very much appreciated. And I want to thank you so very much for tuning in. Y'all go ahead and do me a favor. Please go ahead and tag and share, get others on here. Today, my guest is a young man that I greatly admire. He's a leader extraordinary. He is the Tallahassee branch president of the NAACP. The NAACP, he is our president, and he is also the interim principal at FAMU DRS, and he's going to tell us some more about himself. But I want to welcome to the Real Talk with Judy show, Dr. Marlon Williams-Clark.
Hello.
Hello, Dr. Williams-Clark. So good to see you. So good to have you.
Nice to be with you.
I know that you are busy. You're running here and there, making school work, making the city work, the NAACP work, and plus your beautiful family. So I want to thank you for your time today.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I see him. He ain't talked that much. I thought he was about to say, oh, yeah, you know. But anyway, we're glad to have you, Williams-Clark, on here. And I am going to ask if you would tell the audience a little bit of personal history about you before we get going in here.
Oh, okay. Well, I am born and raised here in Tallahassee. Going back to the old Trick Daddy song, it's like born and raised in the county of Dade. Well, I'm born and raised in the county of Leon. And, Tallahassee made me, bred me. I grew up AME. I always say I grew up AME with a little Baptist spirit and a Kojic shout. And, grew up in grew up at St. Paul AME Church down in Cheers, Florida, the Cheers community. I'm a graduate of James S. Ricketts High School, class of 2005, and graduated from Florida A&M University with a bachelor's degree in public relations, and went on to, after doing a little bit of work in communications, apparently it was God's plan to put me in education, although I never really saw that for myself. My parents and my family, they joke around that, I would always say, I ain't never gonna be no teacher. I don't even like kids. And, but it was all over me. Kids enjoy being around me. And so I just kind of walk into my purpose. And so I end up getting my master's in education leadership, and then my doctorate from Florida State University in education leadership and policy. And I have 3 beautiful kids and a beautiful wife, ranging from the ages of 13 down to 5. So I got a middle schooler, upper elementary student, and as well as my baby girl, 2 boys and a girl. And my baby girl, she just started kindergarten this year. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
She has you wrapped around your finger.
She does. She does. Just the other night, she asked, I said, it's time to go to bed. And she said, can you carry me? And I was like, no, you need to walk to your own room. And then I picked her up and I took her and put her to bed.
Of course. We've seen her in meetings. You're in control of the meeting, but she's in control of the meeting. So we've seen you. But
yes.
But Dr. Williams-Clark, it is good to have you here with me today. Greatly appreciated. I know that you're busy. And I want to get in on this for a minute. You are the NAACP president for the Tallahassee branch and the interim principal at DRS.
That is correct. That is correct.
How are you balancing that right now?
Well, all I can say is nothing but God. It takes really compartmentalizing your mind about what is needed in front of you at the moment. Of course, there are times we have to juggle multiple things at the same time. But delegation is important. Having a team of people who can fulfill the different duties that need to be done, having an understanding and being intentional about not putting everything on yourself.
Let me ask you this. I know earlier you said that education wasn't even in your eyesight. You didn't even see that. Did you feel this coming with DRS?
No, actually, I did not. However, my wife reminded me that I spoke it into existence a long time ago.
Okay.
And I stated that if I ever had a chance, or if I ever were to work at Family DRS, it would be in a leadership capacity to make some positive changes and move forward, because I do believe in Family DRS and the potential that it has. And so, it's time. We are on the rise.
I love it. I love it. And I know by being in the executive leadership of the NAACP, you weren't expecting that either.
I was not. I was not. God has a way of working. That's all I can say. I just last year, it was prophesied to me in church. As a matter of fact, I went to, I was a member of Family Worship and Praise Center for about 20 years. And I just recently changed my membership to Truth Gatherers Dream Center under Pastor Joe Davis. And it was at that church last year. I brought a friend to church who was going through some things. And I wanted that friend to be able to get some, spiritual healing or what have you. But I ended up being the one getting prophesied to that Sunday. And the prophecy was that, God's getting ready to take you straight to the top. And, if you can handle it, and people will wonder where you came from and how you got past some other people and things like that. And, don't worry about that, because, God will prepare a table in the presence of your enemies. And so I just never really saw any of this coming. And so I think probably about 2 months after that prophecy, unfortunately, our past president passed away. And so I came into the presidency of the Tallahassee branch in NAACP because I was the first vice president. And Adner Marcelin, who was the president, he'd asked me to run for president. And I told him no. I said, no, I'm good on that. I said, you can go ahead and be president. I'll be vice president. I'll work in the background, help you out and things like that. But I said, I don't need to be president. And he was like, I think you'll be really good. He was like, when you speak, people listen, people follow you, people have you have positive energy with people. And I was just like, yeah, well, thank you, but no. And so, of course, after he passed, I said, I guess Adam was going to have his way one way or the other. And so, we got to work and, I'm trying to, as you would do with any organization, try to see what structural things are in place or not in place to try to move that organization forward. And, so, we had been busy over the past year. And then, it was, I felt it was time for me to leave where I was in education, and I kind of took a leap of faith and stepped out, and just not knowing what God would have next, even having job offers just for the offer to be withdrawn. It was an unsure time, but I knew that God was able. As you can tell, I am a man of faith. And so, if I just know if I follow God, he'll provide the path. And so then came Family DRS, and it was not one that I was expecting at all. But I believe God places me in positions for a reason. And so I'm ready to work.
That's awesome. I love your leadership, and I know that you're feeling your way through, but you're a man that I've seen you. You're very observant. You're
Yes.
looking. You're listening. I see you. How you're leading. I think that you're a good leader. You bring some good perspective, and I like, because in our branch we have some who've been there from the very inception of the NAACP. Then you have a group that's younger, that and vocal, and so then you got us in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
and to see you balanced all of us, all these different personalities, and I'm just talking about the NAACP right now. But to see you balance all of that, I know it is going to take your faith, and you keep it calm. You're even keel. How do you? We're gonna get into some other, but how do you manage as a leader to balance? You're doing 3 balancing act in one meeting. How do you manage to keep the order that we do have?
Well, one thing is I try not to act out of emotion. And so, and I look at things that you can disagree without being disagreeable. And I am I'm a millennial. So I always tell people that my particular generation, we are the bridge generation. So there are millennials who have parents who are of the silent generation. They got parents that are the baby boomers. And then there's me, who's a millennial, and my parents were Gen X. And so we grew up with a lot of the old ways,
Okay.
and we grew through what we currently have. And so growing up with a respect of the elders, and I was one of those kids that would sit with my great grandparents and grandparents and listen to the stories of the old, and just having reverence for that. And so bringing reverence and respect on that aspect, but also, I didn't always agree, especially with my great grandmother Tessie. We used to have it out sometimes. And so I didn't know at the time, but it was really preparing me to deal with different age groups and different perspectives. And, some people have very strong personalities, and I know I can have a strong personality too, but, growing up with my dad, Bruce Clark, he had been in leadership. And so I've been getting leadership lessons all my life. Even when I was a kid, I was the president of our youth department in church. I was student body president at my senior year in high school. I was the vice president of FBLA, which is Future Business Leaders of America. Even in college, I participated in leadership. We used to have a student-run PR firm called Prodigy, and I was the person that took care of the money. And so they used to joke. It was like Marlon become real Republican when it comes to that money, because I was hold on to it tight. But it's just all of those different experiences allow me to deal with people of different backgrounds. And I do believe in listening to people. I don't believe in, you have to give people an opportunity to be heard. And so it's just like with my students, when they know that they are heard and can be supported, they'll work with you. Even if you don't agree on something, they know that they can be heard. And so, just making sure that everybody's perspective, it has a chance to be on the table, but also being that middle ground to bring balance, or, to cut it off when it needs to, and, not allow people to get disrespectful with each other, remind them what is the purpose. And I think that's what guides me as well, is remembering what is the purpose. You got to stick with the purpose. Once you get emotional, you kind of lose out on the purpose of what you're supposed to be doing. So I think that's how I kind of balance it out.
I love that. And I think it's good. I watch you, and your respect for the elders to be commended. So your mom and dad will be proud that you respect the elders in the group. I want to get to this before I get to the freedom banquet. We know that we're this voting and ballot stuff, this voting. Now we got runoffs coming in November. Talithia and Tom was, people need to go vote. They need to vote. They need to vote, Marlon. They need to vote. Could you talk to that a little bit? Because the NAACP, I really want you to talk to the heart of the people, to the hearts of the people who are listening, because we still got an election coming up. And sometimes people don't really understand the value and how important it is to vote in the local. Mm-hmm. That the primary is gone now, but in the local, will you talk to that point for a minute?
Absolutely. When it was during the 2024 election, I actually encountered a lot of conversations with young Black guys, young Black men. And they either were, now, first, let me say the NAACP does not endorse any candidate. We are a nonpartisan organization. But, for the first time, the NAACP did not invite a sitting president to his national convention, and that's Donald Trump, because he has been antithetical to everything that the organization stands for when it comes to civil rights, when it comes to Black history, when it comes to Black lives mattering to the justice system and things like that. And so I can remember talking with young brothers, and they either was more believe that Trump would be better than Kamala Harris, or they just didn't want to vote at all. And I remember having a conversation with this Rum brother, and I asked him, I said, would you vote for Trump as your mayor? He said no. I said, would you vote for Trump as your city commissioner? He said no. And so I started naming all these local positions, and I said, so if you wouldn't vote for him for any of those positions, why would you want him to be president? Mm-hmm. And he was just like, I just feel like, that really, he has the power to do some things at that level that really won't touch me. And I said, well, I'm glad you said that, because it really is your local elections that will touch your life quicker than anything else. And so when things happen in your city or in your county, you're going to run into your commissioners and your mayor in the store, maybe at church, maybe at a community event. And so they have to be held a little bit more accountable because they're in the community with you. And, when you don't vote, you're giving other people the opportunity to speak for you. And I don't know about anybody else, but I don't want anybody else to speak for me.
Right.
And, there are parts of town that has a low turnout for voting, but those parts of town still are affected by the decisions that are made on the dais. And, and so we have to tap in and we have to listen to what is going on. We have to look at the development that is happening and see how it will affect our particular community. Will it raise your property taxes? Will it will it lose the beauty of or the character of your neighborhood? Or better yet, on the flip side, by not participating in the voting process, maybe your community will just be ignored. You don't have sidewalks where you need to have sidewalks. You don't have, you may have potholes that's not getting tended to. You may have, because there are some communities where it's always clean. And part of having a clean community means that we have to do the work ourselves. If we see the trash, pick up the trash. But also we know that there are services and more attention given to certain communities based on what the tax bracket is and the property taxes that's coming out of that particular community. So, we have to tap in and be engaged. But on the flip side, I also understand where people are tired and they have a very distrust of government because of what those in government are doing. And so, but again, you cannot complain if you don't participate. Now, if you participate and you don't get the candidate that you want, then complain all day. Or if you do vote and you do get the candidate that you want, and they turn out not to do what you thought what they said they would do, then you hold them accountable.
That's right.
So we have to, either way, we have to be engaged and be educated. You don't have to be, you don't have to have a college degree to be educated on the matters.
That's right.
You have, keep up with what's happening in the news, watch the local news and things that are happening. And if you can, go to the school board meetings, go to the city commission and the county commission meetings. And if you can't, it is on TV, it's on the internet. Go back and watch it. Look at the minutes, look at the agenda to see what it is that they're going to be deciding on. And if it's something that you disagree with, make your voice be heard, because closed mouths don't get fed. Or as the Bible say, knock and the door shall be open unto you. You got to ask, you have to speak up. You have to participate. You have to walk through the door and be seen if you want to be seen.
That's right. And attend these forums. Attend the forums. I'm sure we're going to have some more coming up, but attend the forum. Ask questions. Call Dr. Clark, Williams-Clark. He's the NAACP president. He got committees. He got people there who can help. Will you just give a short idea of what the NAACP is all about? Because I don't think some of us really understand our purpose, our voice. We are a powerful organization.
We are. The NAACP is the oldest and the boldest civil rights organization in the country, if not the world, being founded in 1909. The NAACP, without the NAACP, and there have been other organizations, but the NAACP has been that umbrella organization to fight for civil rights, to fight for voting rights. And so I always say that whenever you do right by Black people, you do right by everybody, because historically we have been at the bottom of the barrel of this society. When we look at racism, yes, racism happened with other groups, but nobody can say that they have dealt with the type of racism that Black people have dealt with in this country. It is at a different level. It is a different kind of hate. Not only that, but we have always been here since the inception of this country, since before it was a country. We have been here. And so every war that America has fought, Black people have been involved. Every battle or every movement, Black people have been right there. And so we have had to learn this country in a different kind of way. And so it does bother me when people from different ethnicities or whatever come to this country. And I say racism is so American that when other groups come to America and they want to assimilate, they assimilate with racism towards the Black community. That's how ingrained racism is in our country. And so we fight against that. We want to make sure that we have equity and equality in every aspect of life. And that's what the NAACP fights for. That's what we are here for. Now, I would have to put it out there that we're not a law firm. I think some people do think that we are a law firm and that we just take up lawsuits, and that's not what we do. But we do advocate for things when it comes to civil rights. Have your civil rights been violated? And then a lot of people look at us as a political organization, and we're not. We're a civil rights organization. And unfortunately, going back to the statement that I made before, that racism is so ingrained in America and American politics that when we speak up for civil rights, then all of a sudden we're political. We are called far left because we're speaking up for ourselves. It wasn't us that made our lives. It wasn't us that made civil rights. It wasn't us that made voting rights or any of that political. It was those that were in power that did not want us to have it, even though the paper, the Constitution, says that all men are created equal. So we are just pushing this country to be what it says it is on paper. That's what Martin Luther King was doing. That's what Malcolm X was doing. That's what Minister Farrakhan does. That is what Medgar Evers did. That is what so many others, Coretta Scott King, there's so many people who have been fighting along the way. W.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman. So many of those people have been fighting every step of the way. Even when I used to teach history, I used to do a lesson or at least show the pattern. And when we look at African-American literature and poetry and things like that, and then I also connect hip hop in the 80s and 90s. And I said, what is the trend that you see across songs and literature and poetry from the early 1900s all the way through now on certain topics? They are still talking about the same thing about what life is like for Black people. Yeah. So civil rights isn't a one and done thing. As we can see, there was a Civil Rights Act that was passed in the 1860s, 1870s, and then we had one passed in the 1960s, and we had the Voting Rights Act passed in the 1960s. And now what the Supreme Court is doing with the Voting Rights Act, they're chipping away at it to make sure that we don't, that we are at a disadvantage when it comes to voting. And so I always say to you, if voting wasn't that important, or if voting did not count, if your vote did not count, they wouldn't work so hard to make sure that you did not have the right to do it. They would not work so hard to make sure that they would diminish districts where there is a majority Black population and split it up so that they cannot have a political voice. If our vote was not important, they would not be doing those things.
You're absolutely right. Is there? Do we still? Let me see. How do I want to phrase this? I know they did a lot of marching and all of that back then. What is our strategic move to get us to be as solid or effective now? It seems like we still got a lot of work to do. I know we've come a long ways, Dr. Williams-Clark, we've come a long ways. One of the things that disturbed me, and I think it was still back there too, we have so many Black fighting Blacks and pulling down. How do we work this work so with this generation now with knowledge and education, and the generation that really didn't have as much? How do we bridge this gap? Because we got to work for us. We got to work hard. There's a lot of white people who work with us too, a whole lot of them. But when I say the NAACP, I had a lady to tell me the other day, Pastor Judy, I don't see color. I said, well, then you don't see me.
That part.
I said, you have to see color, because color is. I'm not asking you to be color. Well, what I'm saying is, I said, what you're saying is, if you say you don't see color, I don't exist. And I very much exist. Well, what I'm saying, no, we got to have a better conversation. So how do we do all of this, Dr. Williams-Clark? And then we go into the freedom banquet.
Well, the Bible says, yes. The Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. And so, yes, this generation has a lot of access to knowledge, but don't actually have knowledge. And so one of the things that I appreciated growing up is to be able to sit down and listen and talk with the elders about their experiences. Yes. It's one thing to read about something. It's a whole other thing to hear a firsthand story about how things were. So listening to people in my family who can talk about having to go to segregated water fountains, or having to sit at the back of the bus, or not being able to vote freely, and that's why when Barack Obama was elected president, I cried, not for me. I cried for my grandmother, my great grandmother, who was able to witness a Black man being voted as president of the United States in this country, where for all of their life that seemed like an impossibility, like it was never going to happen. And so, when you had mentioned, Blacks fighting Blacks. And so I push back on that narrative, because that is something that white supremacists and even white liberals, or anytime they want to take the responsibility of the racism in our society, how it affects us all, off of themselves, just like the lady that said, I don't see color. That is taking accountability off of the part that you play. You may not be racist yourself, but white people do have to understand that while you may not be racist, you have benefited from racism. And so nobody really knows what you believe, but they see your skin color first. And so you might have some advantages, or you might be given some chances that a Black person will not be given, simply because of the color of your skin. And so when they bring up Black on Black crime and violence and things like that, well, it's the same thing for white people. Yeah. You fight and kill the people who are closest in proximity to you. If we look at the FBI statistics, the majority of crime are done by white people. Of course, they are the largest majority in this society, but it is shrinking. And when we look at violence, racial violence, from one group onto another group, the white population has that hands down. But also, we know that Black people are criminalized at a higher rate. And so if you don't understand your history as to why that exists, then you don't understand the slave patrol. And so not being able to walk down a dirt road without having your papers or your pass to say that you're going where you're going. You don't understand that once the 13th Amendment came and we eliminated slavery, there was a caveat, or there is a caveat in the 13th Amendment that says that no one will be enslaved in this country unless found guilty of a crime, and you become a slave of the state. So what we see happen after that is mass incarceration that starts to happen. You see Black men being blamed and accused of crimes that they never did. And if they weren't hung from a tree, then they were put into a prison and doing the very same labor and work that they would have had to do on the plantation. Many of them working on plantations. If we look at Angola prison in Louisiana, they literally are treated like slaves, working on plantations, doing farm work, doing free labor and what have you, and live in horrible, hot conditions. So we have to know our history as to why things are the way they are. When we look at the overcriminalization of Black people, I always point out, if you ever seen the sign that says no loitering on the wall of a corner store, what have you, those were laws that came out of the Jim Crow era, that you could not just be Black and be standing around. You had to be doing something. If you didn't have a job, you could be locked up. If you didn't have a home, you could be locked up. And so you can have your children taken away from you. They could be servants of white families, and that was the punishment. So this country has always worked to try to keep us as a slave class. But, and I want to get on the diatribe, but we also have to recognize our strength with everything that we've been through in this country. Yeah. We have created so much. I wrote this story that I'm working on getting published, and I have told it at Black History programs with students about this white kid who was basically growing up being taught to be racist, and he wished that Black people didn't exist one day. And so the next day he woke up, and everything that a Black person invented, he did not have access to. He couldn't iron his clothes. He couldn't do much of anything. He didn't have AC. He didn't have refrigeration. It was so many things that he didn't have. His grandmother didn't have her pacemaker because of the invention of Black people. There was so many things that he could not have, that he realized that he could not do a lot of things or live the life he wanted to live without the inventions of Black people. And so even when we look at the language, the English language, for a group of people that it was made legal to not teach them how to read or write, we were still able to form every musical genre that you could think of that came out of the United States. Even when we look at hip hop, the way that, and I'm not talking about some of these hip hop, if you want to call them hip hop, some of these rappers of today, because they are different. Some of them are good, but they are different. But when we look at early hip hop and we look at the metaphors and the similes and the personifications and all of these literary devices that they used and just speeding it up and putting it into music, that was not something that white people came up with. We took a language that wasn't our own and made it our own. So we are very inventive people, and we have to recognize our own strength. And so in order for us to move forward, we first have to know our history. We can't shy away from it. We can't say, oh, that's in the past, because that is what they want you to do. No, yeah. They'll say for Pearl Harbor, never forget. They'll say for 9/11, never forget. They'll say for the Holocaust, never forget. We start talking about civil rights. Oh, that was in the past. Let it go. We start talking about slavery. Oh, that was in the past. Let it go. And I always give the story of my great-great-grandmother who was born into slavery. She didn't die until 1940. And so my grandmother and some of her older siblings, they grew up living in a house with a woman who was enslaved. I was just a couple generations away. My grandmother hugged, kissed, ate from, and spent time with someone who was once enslaved. We are not far from it at all. And so, and that's why they are up, anti-DEI and don't want to teach full history of the United States, want to have this mythological history of this hero energy of history from the United States, because Black people are the mirror to America that they do not want to look through. And so, and we got to continue to hold the mirror. We got to continue to say, remember, 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 because all of those policies that existed have an effect on us today. The housing, redlining, all of those things, it has a lingering effect today. So even when we look at the wealth gap, there was, like why Black people could not pull themselves up by the bootstraps. As MLK said, well, how are you going to tell people to pull themselves up by the bootstraps and they don't even have boots? And then every time we have created our own communities and our own businesses, we have seen time and time again that out of racism comes white jealousy. And because poorer whites were led to believe that they were better than the best Black person, they would destroy our communities and burn them down and rape our women and hang our men from trees, because they never wanted us to have anything. And so that has a lingering effect when we look at the wealth gap. Everything that could have created wealth was destroyed. When we look at the GI Bill, Black soldiers wasn't given those benefits, which the GI Bill, the military built the middle class. So we have to know those things. We have to know how policies of the past connect to policies of today and how they connect to our lives today. And when we look at the language that politicians are using and language that they are putting in some of these bills and some of these statutes, they put in some of the same language as their grandfathers and great-grandfathers as they did prior to. So we have to be curious about what's going on around us. That's how we change it, and we have to step up.
And Dr. Williams-Clark, I think it's going to be important, just like you're sitting here today, just like you're sitting here with me today, and I'm sure so many who will hear this, who are listening to us, and those who will go back and replay it. I'm going to play it again, but I'm sure that if we can get this into not just our young people, we need it into our people, our people, because We need the young people, we need the middle age, we need the older people, because everybody still have stuff to offer. We say, I wish I would have grown up with a slave, with a former slave in my house. Man, I would have been crazy just to hear some of the stories, or just to see. You said we're powerful. Black people are powerful, and we're smart. We're smart.
Yes.
These women have so many children, but they can feed them all off the little that they had. We're smart. I'm sitting here listening to you today. Listening at all of these, looking at all these Black women, the opportunity that we took and became, let all of that creativity and that part of God, that potential that was in us flourish. Then Trump come along and want to take all the Black women out. He can't stop what God has created. So it's things like this, Dr. Williams-Clark, that I believe is absolutely necessary. They're never going to teach it like this. They're never going to teach it. We got to get back to the porches. We got to get back to the corners and talk so people can understand. So we got to help them read. So when they get to third grade, they say they build a prison, and they do it because if they can't read at third grade, they're presuming that they're likely going to go to prison. Well, let's get our young people reading, and our children reading. And I own a daycare, and one mother, she just wanted. I said, listen, we don't have that child here by 8:45. You're in trouble. She said, I'm in trouble, but she's only 3. I said, right, but she got to make it to third grade, and it starts now. Right. It starts now. So, Dr. Williams-Clark, we got to have stuff like this. We have to. I go to the forums. I listen to some of you all who know this history much better than I do, because I want to be well informed. You know, people think I'm smart, so I got to learn all my Black history. You know, so this leads us to our Freedom Banquet that's coming up on September the 3rd. Tell us about this Freedom Banquet. And I know that it was started way back then to help with to support the NAACP, to really help us with our education, our literature, to help us work, to help us help our next. Tell us about it, and we got more tables, invite them to come.
So the Freedom Fund Banquet is every local branch of the NAACP is their largest fundraiser. There are some larger branches that have other fundraisers because they, like in Detroit, New York, they have a little bit more opportunity for fundraisers. But a lot of the branches, local branches, are small. And so the Freedom Fund Banquet is the biggest fundraiser for most local branches. And right now it's the biggest fundraiser for us. And I'm hoping that we can change that we're not depending solely on the Freedom Fund Banquet. But it is a time for us to come together, to recognize different people in the community for the work that they're doing that are aligned with the goals and the purpose of the NAACP and in civil rights. And so this year, our Freedom Fund Banquet is going to be held on September 3rd, 2026 at the FSU Student Union Ballroom at 6 p.m. Tickets are $100. The tables are $1,000, which is the lowest level of sponsorship, which is the blue sponsorship. And then we have the $2,500 sponsorship. And then our highest platinum sponsorship, is $5,000. And so we're asking the community to come out. Last year, we had more people than we expected that came out, and we had it at the Civic Center, and the room was full. We had Bishop Quincy Griffin to be our Bishop Quincy Griffin Sr. to be our keynote speaker last year. We had Tallahassee Nights Live to entertain us, and so it was a good time. And we gave out some awards. We gave out quite a few awards. We won't be giving as many out this year, but it is a time for us to recognize the people in our community and to come together and eat and fellowship and have a good time, but also remind us of the purpose of why we're here, and the purpose of civil rights in the many aspects of life, as well as in our different positions in our community. And so, when I used to go last year, I was going to churches and speaking about the Freedom Fund Banquet, and I would tell them that civil rights work is God's work, and so, and when you see it like that, because I do believe that with the NAACP, the churches have been one of the foundational supports of the NAACP, especially when you're getting into the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. It definitely was so. And you mentioned earlier that there's a lot of white people that help us with this work, and there is. What a lot of people don't understand is a lot of people who are anti-Black, whether they want to say it or not out loud, they don't realize that the NAACP was started by a majority group of white people. And the NAACP nationally did not have a Black president until, I want to say, the 1930s and 1940s. The organization started in 1909. So it is, when you think about Jesse Jackson's organization, Rainbow Coalition, the first Rainbow Coalition really was the NAACP, because it was different people coming together to advance civil rights. And so, this year our theme is Until Freedom. And I came up with that theme because I thought about the words of civil rights activist Fannie Lou Hamer when she said that ain't nobody free until everybody free. And so, it is until freedom. We are going to organize until freedom. We are going to educate until freedom. We are going to vote until freedom. We're going to advocate until freedom. We are going to remember until freedom. And we're going to speak truth until freedom. Because that particular theme really talks about what is happening around us right now. We're having our history being stripped from the curriculum. And it's not just those former Confederate states. It's happening all over the country. We have a very hostile administration towards Black people in the White House right now. They're stripping. They're taking down. They are trying to rename name a ship, an aircraft carrier after Trump. Typically, they are named after presidents, but usually the president is no longer the president when they name them that. And this particular aircraft carrier, they were going to name, and forgive me for not remembering his name, but it was a war hero during Pearl Harbor, where a Black soldier, he saved several different soldiers and swam to safety in the middle of the bombing of Pearl Harbor. And so, they want to take away the achievements of Black people. They want to get rid of the placards at Freedom Hall in Philadelphia, where it talks about the history of slavery and the slaves that existed, because our capital was being held in Philadelphia at one point in time. And so they don't want to talk about the enslaved people that George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and James Madison and Andrew Jackson and all those earlier presidents. Many of our presidents had enslaved people. They don't want us to talk about that. And so that's why we have to say until freedom, because freedom, just like civil rights, freedom is not something that is a one and done thing. Just because they ended slavery, just because we ended slavery with the 13th Amendment, did not mean that we did not have more fight to go. Did not mean that we were truly free. So until our students, our kids are free to learn their own history in our school system without any pushback or without a distortion, until we're able to go vote without any barriers, until we're able to go to a hospital and have treatment without having to worry about if white doctors and nurses are going to try to kill us or not give us the equal treatment that they would give white patients, until we're able to walk down the street without being stopped by cops and being frisked and accused of a crime or soon to be doing something or being up to no good. Until these things happen, we got freedom on our mind, and we're going to keep moving towards it. So that's why I chose the theme Until Freedom. And so people can get more information about the Freedom Fund Banquet, number one, by going to our Facebook group. Right now, our website is under construction. We are redoing our website, but we do have a Facebook group and we have an Instagram group. On Facebook, it is Tallahassee Branch NAACP, where you will see the flyer. And I forgot to mention our speaker this year is Representative Rashawn Young of Florida House District 40 out of the Orlando area. He is, I think, 27 years old. He was an aide to a House representative who then went on to become a state senator. And so I heard this young brother speak at a rally that we had in conjunction with Equal Ground. Equal Ground. We were rallying at the Capitol, and he did the ABCs of civil rights and Black history, and it was phenomenal. I mean, the boy got a little preaching voice on him, but we chose him because he is energetic, he is knowledgeable, he is in the fight within the legislature, and we always try to remind the community and energize the community at the Freedom Fund Banquet about what it is that we do and what we need to do moving forward. So we got him this year. We had Bishop Quincy Griffin last year. The year before that, we had Pastor Jamal Bryant. And so we try to bring in phenomenal speakers who are knowledgeable of this stuff and are in the fight for these things. And so, like I said, you can find more information about it on our Facebook group, Tallahassee Branch NAACP, where it also has the Zephy link that you can click on to purchase your tickets, your ads if you wish to buy an ad. I think a full page is $250. A half page is $100. I think a quarter page is $50. Don't quote me on that. Go on our page and look for it. But also you can purchase your tickets, you can purchase your sponsorships and what have you. And so you can also reach out to us via email, which is naacptallahassee@gmail.com. And so you will receive you'll receive correspondence back from our chairwoman, Shakara Tucker. And you know, I won't give her number out over here, but if you reach out to her, she'll reach out to you and she'll call you or what have you, but whatever information that you need. So it is on a Thursday night, September 3rd, 6 p.m. at the FSU Student Union Ballroom. And so as I like to say, don't meet me there, beat me there. I hope to see all of the community out there. I do know that it is leading into the Labor Day weekend, but I do hope that even if you're not able to attend, give us a donation because we depend on these funds for the operations of the branch. And so for the Tallahassee branch, we are unique as we have our own building. Not many branches have their own building. They meet at churches, they meet at libraries, sometimes at people's houses or community centers, but we have our own building, which is a historic building in the Frenchtown neighborhood. It was a cleaners, a Black-owned cleaners back in the day. And so we're preserving that building, and we have work that we have to do on that building, and we have bills that we have to pay each month, but we also have things that we want to do in the community. And so if you've ever worked in a nonprofit or tried to do any kind of work, yes, you can do a lot with a little bit, but at some point you need some funding, especially in this 2026 economy. So please help us out, come out and support us. And even if you're not able to make it, give us a donation and continue to support us. Become a member. Go to the naacp.org and click on join NAACP. There are different levels of membership. There's a $30 annual membership for adults. If you want your children to be involved, there's a $10 annual membership. And we are also, we're in the process of getting our youth council back up and going again. And we want to bring back AXO, and we want to make it youth focused again, because we have to raise up the next generation to come behind us. And I think that's where we've lost ourselves a little bit. There are people that's been doing the work, but have not been mentoring those coming behind them to understand the history, but also to come in with innovation. And so that's something that I'm trying to forge together. But also, while we do have the annual membership of $30, we encourage you to become life members, because that we are the memberships are the bread and butter of what brings in money to the organization. And so the lowest life membership, which is the silver life membership for adults, is $1,000. You don't have to pay it all up front. That would be $100 each year until you pay it off. And you can pay it off earlier than that. And then you have the Gold Life membership, which is $2,500 or $2,000, which is $200 a year until you pay it off. And then the Platinum Life membership is $3,000, and that'll be $300 a year until you pay it off. And now you cannot be a Gold or Platinum without first completing your Silver Life membership. Once you complete Silver Life membership, then you can move up to Gold. Once you complete Gold, then you can move up to Platinum. And so when you complete those things, the national office sends in a plaque for you, recognizing your contribution to the NAACP. And we're trying to work on some things where we do some things for our life members exclusively. But we want you all to join. And I know that everybody may not be able to make it to a meeting, but some people are just financial supporters, and we need that. And then some people are working hands, and we absolutely need that. And so if you are thinking about getting involved with the NAACP and you ask, what is it that I can do? My question to you is, what is it that you care about? Because civil rights taps into every aspect of life. So if you care about education, there's a committee for that. If you care about legal redress, there's a committee for that. If you care about religious affairs, there's a committee for that. If you care about the youth, there's a committee for that. And so we have different committees. And if we don't have a committee that addresses the thing that you want to do, either we're going to combine the work of two committees or more, or we're going to create a new committee to do that work. But I will tell you, as president, I cannot do it alone. I cannot do it with only the executive committee. I cannot only do it with the elected officers of the branch. We have to have people to come in and provide their talent so that we can continue to do this work and to make sure that we are advancing our society that looks and that is equal and equitable for everyone.
Dr. Williams-Clark, it has been an honor and a pleasure to have you on this show. You are one amazing person. And I want to say, y'all, join the NAACP. Join the NAACP.
Yes. Come
and work with our president and executive committee and the membership. And he tells us, I think, every meeting, I cannot, but this is what he say, I cannot and I will not do this work alone.
I will not.
So, but y'all, he's an awesome man, awesome leader. We're doing some great things. And if you can, come to the NAACP banquet. And if you don't have the $100 and you really want to go, come ask one of your friends to help you come. You pay $50 and they pay $50. Or you get 4 people to give you $25 and you come sit at one of them empty tables. I promise you, it is worth it. It is worth it. The whole Tallahassee NAACP branch is worth it. And we honor you, Dr. Marlon Williams-Clark. Thank God for the work that you're doing. Thank you for picking up and putting on your shoes, pulling up your boots until freedom comes. And y'all know we ain't free. We got a lot of, well, not all the way. We got a lot of work to do, okay? God has brought us a long way. And some powerful people, some powerful Black people yet to come forth. And so we want to help you come forth, help us come forth. Dr. Williams-Clark, I want to thank you for allowing me to serve in your branch, in the executive branch. I want to thank you. And it's going to get better with the religious affairs. We're going to get the churches back going like we were. NAACP Sunday was happening at some of the churches, I believe, on 4 Sundays or something like that. We're going to get it going. So if you want to work with the religious affairs,
yes,
let's make it work. Let's make it work. We got some good committees, some real good committees. Dr. Williams-Clark, thank you so very much, sir. Y'all join me tonight at Bible study. Join me tonight at Bible study. I think our pastor's teaching tonight. Ella Witherspoon will be doing the prayer points. And our pastor will be teaching. And then join me Sunday morning at 10 a.m. for Sunday school and 11 a.m. for morning worship service. I tell you, it's going to be awesome. Awesome. I absolutely love that church. And so we look forward to seeing you all as life changers. Again, Dr. Williams-Clark, thank you so very much. And listen, y'all, until freedom, we got a lot of work to do. That's real talk.
Real talk with Judy. Real talk with Judy on the radio. Real talk with Judy. Real talk with Judy on the